Hi everybody, my name is Larsen. The minor 2-5-1 cadence is a lot more difficult to play over than the major version, simply because we're not used to dealing with half diminished chords and also dominants. In this video I'm going to go over 3 tips that I use in my own playing, and hopefully you get some new ideas that you can insert into your vocabulary and have an easier time improvising over the minor cadences. If you want to learn more about jazz guitar, about improvising over chord changes, or checking out some interesting arpeggios or scale sounds, then subscribe to my channel. If you want to make sure not to miss anything, then click the little bell notification icon next to the subscribe button. All the examples in this video are using the same cadence. So that's a 2-5-1 in the key of D minor. That's E half diminished, A7, and then D minor 6. This first example is using an arpeggio that I use very often in my minor cadences. Because on the 2 chord I use the diatonic arpeggio from the flat 5, so in this case that's a B flat, and here I'm using a B flat major 7 arpeggio, like this. And I like the sound of that one. It really brings out sort of the 2 notes at the outer side of the arpeggio, which is the 11 on the half diminished chord, and also just the flat 5, so it really does convey the sound of the chord quite well. And then the flat 9 is sort of hidden away in the middle and we don't really hear it too much. So I use that quite often, and in this case I'm just playing a descending version of it, so starting on the A and then continuing down a small chromatic leading note up to the 3rd and then up to the 11 again, and then on the A7 here I'm using A7 altered, so that's this figure, and that's really coming out of using B flat minor major arpeggio, but then I've added the 9 here in the middle, and then a B flat minor triad, and then on the D minor 6 coming out on the 9, and ending on the major 6. In this example I'm connecting 2 chord tones by making a chromatic movement between them. So in the lick I'm going from the root, E, and then up to G by just playing all the notes in between. And this is something that works really well for these minor 2-5-1s. You can do that between the root and the 3rd, and also between the 3rd and the flat 5 on the 2 chord. And you can do the same if you connect the A7 to D harmonic minor, then it's also with an upper structure that's a diminished chord, and here you can do that as well. So that's something that I make use of quite often when I'm making lines on minor cadences. So in the line I'm going first the chromatic movement, so, and then an E half diminished arpeggio from the root and then descending, so, and then on the A7 first just using this flat 9 triad, and then a chromatic movement from G up to the flat 9, from the 7th up to the flat 9, and resolving that to the 5th of the D minor, and then just adding the 3rd as an extra note. Since you often use harmonic minor on the dominant in a cadence like this, then it's kind of easy to get lost in just using diminished arpeggios and moving those around, because you can do that symmetrically. But the lines that are like tend to get a little bit boring, and they're very predictable, so they don't really work that well in a jazz setting, I think. So in this case there are some other arpeggios that you can tap into, and that's what I'm using in this lick. So the first part of the line is of course on the 2 chord, and here I'm using the upper structure of the E half diminished, which is a G minor triad, so this triad, and then a small scale one, and then on the A7 first the diminished arpeggio, because you can of course use that, and then instead of just repeating, the logical thing to do if you're just thinking about the diminished thing is to do the same thing again, but then we're just really playing the same notes all the time, and that gets a little bit boring, and it's also just always the same extensions on the chord. So here I'm using another arpeggio that's actually found in the D harmonic minor scale, but it's not, if you start building thirds in it, you're not going to come across it, and that's the B flat minor major arpeggio. So and then I'm resolving that to the 5th. So it really makes sense to just have a little bit of a closer look at the scale that we're using and see if we can come up with some structures that we can use. And of course, in the case of this B flat minor major, you kind of need to look at what chords can you make that are maybe not strictly diatonic to the scale, but you still have them available, and that's going to add some more colors to the lines that you play and give you some more options. And I really think the same goes with just looking for the possibilities you have over the 2 chord. So look at some of the triads that are available, and also of course some of the other diatonic arpeggios that you can use. The reason why for the half diminished the G minor 7 is sometimes a little bit tricky to use is that the outer note here, so if we play a G minor 7, then we're going to end on the F, and the F is not the nicest note on top of the E, so that can be a little bit more difficult. You can use it, but you have to be a little bit more careful when you're using it. And somehow when we have it sort of, in this case with the B flat, we have it in the middle of the chord, then it's a little bit easier to work with, and that makes that an easier fit. And actually you can also sometimes just, when you're playing the chords, substitute this chord with the E half diminished with a B flat major 7 chord. If you look at a song like Night and Day, that actually already has that built in. Do you have an idea like a pentatonic scale or an arpeggio that you're using on minor cadences? Then leave a comment. I think we're all looking for information like that, so that's really welcome. At least I'm always looking for ideas, and I would be curious to hear what you're using. If you want to learn more about jazz guitar and this is the first time you see one of my videos, then subscribe to my channel. The videos that I publish here every week are on finding some solid methods and good strategies for checking out some of the interesting things on jazz guitar, like arpeggios and scales and chord voicings. If you like this video and you want to help me keep making videos, then check out my Patreon page. I'm very grateful for the support that I'm getting from my patrons, and it's because of that I can keep on making videos every week. If you join us over on Patreon, I can also give you something in return for your support. That's about it for this week. Thank you for watching, and until next week.